is then trying to guess things about her appearance. And when Emma tries to call him out about it, he's basically like denying it. Even asks how she lost her virginity. What kind of question is that? He's then trying to guess the age that Emma lost her virginity. Cut. Bye-bye, Steven. Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I will be reviewing Love is Blind Season 10, Episode 1. So this season is based in Ohio, and this is probably my favorite show to like do the recaps and reviews on. So needless to say, I am very excited. The Season 9, Colorado, even though no one got married, guys, that was probably one of my favorite seasons because I really do love a little bit of drama, I have to say. So let's hope Ohio does not disappoint for this new season. We shall see. All right, so let's just jump right in. The pods are open. The first thing I want to say is, you guys, you see Nick Lachey, you see Vanessa Lachey, they come out to the women's quarters, the men's quarters, and right off the bat, the women this season look phenomenal. Okay, like, don't get me wrong, they look phenomenal every season, but I'm like, damn, like there's nobody that I was like, oh, any guy should be happy at the reveal to be coupled up with any of these women in Ohio on this season. Okay, that's all I have to say. The men look good too, don't get me wrong, they're okay, but the women, top tier. So they look good. I have to point that out. All right, so we basically first get introduced to Emma. And we find out that she's adopted from China and was raised by a white family in Ohio. She's had over 10 surgeries to get rid of a birthmark on her arm. This birthmark could have caused melanoma. But she's really stood out to me, like even hearing her story. I get the feeling she will be a big character throughout this entire season. That's the feeling that I get. We can see that she has a little bit of scarring on her arm, and so we're just first introduced to her. And then we're also introduced to Tyler, and she just seems very funny. In the women's quarter, she mentions that Jesus died alone, but that she's not going to die alone. And I'm like, yeah, amen, sister. We don't want that, right? So she just seems to have a big personality. Okay, so the pods are open, and we meet a guy named Jordan. He is 33 years old, and he is in software sales. He says that he comes across like a big oaf, and, that he's pretty artsy and he loves to cook, and that there's just more to him than just like him just looking like kind of like a big guy. I get good vibes from Jordan. I think he has great energy. I love his smile. His smile is what stood out to me. He does seem like a very nice guy. And we see that he's talking to Amber, who is 33 years old, and she is a nurse practitioner. So Amber is the one this season that has a child. She has a little girl. I believe her little girl is 7 years old. And we see Tyler and Amber talking, and Amber off the bat lets him know that she has a daughter, which personally I like because, there's been other things on Love is Blind that's happened where people have not been very forthcoming with even having a child, or they've taken a while to say that. I like that Amber just was like, let me throw that out there. Amber mentions that there was a year where she didn't have enough money to get her daughter any Christmas presents because they were going through a hard time financially. And that during that time, she realized that all kids really need is love. And I don't know, I really like that she said that. There's something about Amber that just seems really down to earth and nice. And I love how big her hair is. Her hair is like a statement. I'm just like, okay, that's Amber. She's got this big blonde hair. But I like her energy as well. And she seems like someone that's just down to earth, which is a good thing. Then we see, we are introduced to a guy named Vic. He's 33 years old, and he's a professor of public policy. So he is a professor at a university. And he says that he's been wanting to be married for a while, but that sometimes he searched for that in the wrong places. That kind of stood out to me. And, he kind of said it, and then, they just moved on to something else. But like, what do you mean searched for in the wrong places? I really wanted Vic to expand on that, because in my mind, I'm like, where were you searching for this, this wife that you were looking for? Like, I'm curious about that, Vic. So then we also are introduced to Christine, and she's 30 years old. She's a speech pathologist, and she basically says that she wants to have a Super Bowl house. She's Christian. Her and Vic are both Christian, so they definitely talk about that, how faith is important to them. And yeah, I get good vibes from these two. It seems like they are getting along well. Okay, then we meet Jessica, and she is 39 years old. She's an internal medicine doctor, specifically for infectious diseases. Very cool. And she says that when people see her, they basically make assumptions about her because of the way she looks. And I'm assuming she meant it was because of the way she looked when she said this, but then they find out that she's in like science, so that there's obviously more to her than her appearances. Yeah, and Jessica's obviously beautiful, so maybe people don't assume that she would work in that field. I don't know if that's what she was trying to say, but that's what I'm thinking she meant by people making assumptions when they see her. She likes the idea that you can't see the other person in this experiment. She just likes the idea of, getting to know somebody, taking the physical appearance out of it. And she is talking to Chris, who's 32 years old. She mentions to Chris that she was actually once married and is now divorced, and that, he wants to know like kind of what happened. And she basically divulges that during COVID, she was working in the ICU, and that was like a very stressful time for her. And it seems like that period of time also took a toll on her marriage, unfortunately, and things didn't end up working out. And he says modern dating to him is very superficial, and he says that he won't lie, is very superficial, and something that he says he won't lie about is his height on a dating app, just to like get more matches or something. And the fact that Chris mentioned that made me think that Chris might not be that tall. Even from watching on the screen, he looks like he might not be that tall, right? I don't know. I doubt that he's like a 6 footer, because when guys are 6 feet or above, they will put that on a dating app. I mean, that is something that they would want to put on there. So I like that Chris said that. I think that there's so many ways that we judge people, and it's not just about the way that they appear physically in terms of like just the way they look, but I think height plays a huge role when it comes to men and women choosing certain men over other men. So that's another thing that I was like, that's fair, Then we're introduced to Bree, who's 33 years old, and she is also talking to Chris. She's a product developer. And basically we see them talking about how Chris mentions that he does triathlons, he likes to stay busy, and Bree mentions that she used to be a competitive cheerleader and a softball player. So both of them kind of have that sense of really liking to be active. And we see that Bree is also talking to Connor, who is 31 years old, and he's an account manager. So they basically connect on both liking the song Mr. Brightside. They both love skiing, and they basically had found some commonalities in terms of where they lived as well. Connor basically says that he's looking for his ride or die, and, he wants that person in his life. We see that Connor is speaking with Emma. So Emma is 27, and she is in retail merchandising. Basically, Connor says that he sells large commercial dumpsters, and Emma mentioned that she was going to put a star next to that. And, they kind of have like a funny banter with that. And Emma kind of gets, a little deep, and she basically tells Connor that she used to be very self-conscious about her scars growing up, and this is something that she's had to kind of work on. And I just wanted to comment that I think sometimes people forget that, like, when you have things like scars due to medical issues, some people are even born with like physical things that make, like really stand out, that make them look different. Things like, there's so many conditions that can change the way that you appear. And even just thinking about that makes me just so sad that like we are so superficial with dating now. I can't imagine how Emma feels and how, she's possibly been treated based on the way, that she looks or the scars that she has. So yeah. So Emma is also talking with Mike. Mike is 29, and he is a sales manager. Emma says basically that she's been single for about a year now. Mike says that he wants kids, and Emma says she's not sure if she wants kids. She hasn't really made up her mind on that. Emma gets a little bit emotional and mentions that she doesn't know her biological parents. What I can say is I get the feeling that there is a lot that is going on with Emma internally. Just even hearing her say that she's not sure if she wants kids, and then the way she got so emotional and talking about how she didn't know her biological parents, I think it would be silly to think that her being adopted and maybe even the way she grew up or certain things, right, about her experience has not impacted her view on having children, right? Okay, so then we have Steven. He's 31 and he's in finance. He says he doesn't want to deep dive into deep questions too early on. So they kind of keep things very light. They talk about adopting dogs, and Steven asks if Emma would ever want to adopt a child, which I was like, what a strange thing to ask someone. What kind of segue is that, considering at this point, Steven has no idea that Emma herself is adopted, right? They're talking about adopting dogs. He's now talking about adopting a child. Odd, you know? So basically, he says he would be interested in adoption. And he tells this love story about his grandparents. And what's interesting about this interaction is Emma did not mention to this guy, Steven, that she was adopted. I found that to be very strange. And it was giving, I got the sense that, to me, I don't think Emma felt comfortable enough with Steven yet to divulge that, maybe. That's what I picked up on. Because with Connor, she was very quick to just let him know, or sorry, was it Connor or was it Mike? Guys, so many people. Okay, I think it was Mike. It was Mike. Mike was the one that she's already mentioned to him that she doesn't know her biological parents. I wonder what made her not say that with Steven, but I found that to be pretty interesting. Okay, then we meet Kia. She's 30 years old and she's a marketing director. I put that like she just seems like a ball of sunshine. Like she has really, really good energy. She says she's here to find her light. And, you know, we see that she's connecting with Kevin, who's 31 and he is a realtor. They talk about like love movies, and she says she doesn't like Love and Basketball, even though that's kind of like a staple that a lot of people like love that movie. She says that she likes a movie called Love Jones, which I have never seen before. Let me know if you guys have seen it. And basically Kevin says he's been single for 2.5 years. And he says that his ex taught him a lot about how to be patient. And seems like she somehow kind of made him a better person. So, you know, Kia is like, okay, thank God you've learned these things from your ex. And Kevin says that he's now ready to settle down. So these two seem to be connecting well. I didn't see sparks flying, but it seems like the conversation's going well. We also see Kevin is connecting with someone named Tyler. And basically when Kevin talks about Tyler, I could see the excitement on his face. He's just like excited when he even hears her voice is what he says, which in my opinion, I'm like, okay, that's definitely a sign you need to look out for. And I'm assuming Kevin didn't necessarily get the same level of excitement with Kia. So he's excited to talk to Tyler. First thing I notice is that they have pretty good energy together. They live in different cities. I believe Kevin is in Columbus and Tyler is in Cincinnati. So they talk about distance, and, you know, Tyler basically tells Kevin distance would never be an issue for her. Tyler basically says to Kevin that she's very proud of where she is in her career and that she is a director in corporate America and she reached that level before the age of 30. And that's something she's very proud of, which is very commendable. Kevin wonders if like this will impact like her having to maybe relocate and then maybe even find a new job, you know, different logistics. And Tyler basically affirms him that she's at a point in her life where she is prioritizing love over anything else. So if she did have to relocate and find a new job, that's something she would be open to, which in my opinion, I was like, okay, that's a really, really good sign. So distance shouldn't be an issue with them at all. Kevin basically is saying that Tyler has that it factor. And the way he's talking about Tyler, I feel like Kevin is ready to propose, guys. Like, I was like, wow, like he just seems like really enamored by Tyler. Okay. Then we meet Ashley. She's 33 years old and she's a claims supervisor. The first thing I was like, Ashley is beautiful. So Ashley is the one, if you guys remember, she said during her like intro video, right, that she has her dad says she has a bad picker, basically, right, is the reason why she's single. So we see that she's talking to Alex, who's 30, and he's a soccer coach. He says he won't approach women. He says that he doesn't normally approach women unless he's got that physical attraction there first. And he basically describes this as being a fault of his. And I do not think that's a fault. I was like, a fault? Most people will not come up to someone if they don't find them attractive. Like, women do it too, right? Men and women both do this. Like, a lot of people are looking for that base physical attraction in someone before talking to them. And like, that is normal. And I think he basically, Alex goes on to say that he thinks that because he's like this, he's probably missed out on good women in the past. But I don't agree on that, because I feel like attraction is still important. Like, we're on season 10 of Love is Blind, guys. I do not believe love is blind. Let me know if you do, because I don't. And I think especially for men, like, that initial base attraction is really important. So I don't think that he should say that that's a fault of his, because I don't necessarily think that's a fault. I think if anything, I don't think that's a fault, because I think men and women both do it. I think both sexes have overlooked somebody of the opposite sex because we weren't initially attracted to them, right? Or maybe that attraction sometimes never even grows. You never know. So I don't think that's a fault at all. So Alex is basically talking to Ashley, and he comments about how he really likes her voice. Ashley asks him if he likes kissing. She says that she's a great kisser. So things are getting pretty flirty between them already. They talk about spooning. Ashley jokes about how she thinks guys like to be the little spoon, but they just won't admit it. Alex asks if she likes massages, and Ashley says that sex is very important to her. And somehow they start talking about this, and Alex says that he likes dirty talk. It was getting steamy in these pods, guys. Like, this conversation, I was like, okay, there's definitely some sexual chemistry there. So we see Ashley basically telling the cameras that the sexual chemistry is definitely there between her and Alex. And I think that that's great, right? But hopefully we get to see like deeper conversations between these two. Sexual chemistry is one thing, but hopefully they are able to go deeper, because the whole point of being in the pods is to build that emotional connection. So hopefully we get to see that. Go back to Mike, and he basically says that he's struggling with Emma, not being sure about having children. We see Mike and Emma talking, and Emma says she likes that Mike's attentive and supportive, says all these nice words about him, and then basically says she got it from ChatGPT, which I thought was hilarious. Mike says that Emma has always been up there for him. Emma says that Mike kind of grew on her. Like, she didn't initially feel that oomph with him, but she's kind of feeling more connected to him now. They get into this conversation where Mike wants to know what Emma's internal battle is with having children. And Emma basically says she doesn't fully even know what that battle is. So she says she can't even pinpoint the reasons why she doesn't want to have children. And I guess there's nothing wrong with that, but I find that very interesting. But that she basically says she just doesn't want to commit to being sure on having children right now. Mike says he doesn't want kids right now, like right away, but he definitely does want them down the line. Personally, this should be cut off, because I don't think that you should compromise on wanting children. If you want children, you need to go find someone else that wants children. Like, period, point blank. Like, I don't like this idea of someone feeling like, uneasy about having children, but then they're with someone that definitely does, because I just don't like the idea of anyone feeling pressured to do something as big as have a child. That is a big decision. So if both of you are not sure, cut it off. Like, I don't even know why they're still talking, guys. I really do not. So basically, Emma says kids are not a guarantee for her. There was like this awkward silence for a while. Mike says he understands if Emma doesn't want to basically keep talking to him. And Emma kind of reassures him that she still wants to get to know him. But, the energy kind of shifted a little bit in this pod date, you could tell. And Emma says bye and calls him like buddy, which I thought was such a strange thing to say. But I really do think that she should just talk to other people and forget Mike, because somebody needs to just let it go. All right. Emma is also talking to Connor. Emma says that she felt like their conversation so far has been surface level, and that it reminds her of her first relationship that she had, where they never got deep in that relationship until they were drunk. I was like, oh my gosh. So she wants to see, she wants to be able to go deeper with Connor, that is something that's important for her, and they haven't really gotten to that point yet. Emma opens up and says that her past relationships have stemmed from her not feeling good enough, basically saying that maybe the relationships were based out of a sense of insecurity that she had for herself, which is something that I'm like, that's a huge thing to reflect on. And it's a good thing that she's acknowledged this about herself. So hopefully this is something she can work on. I hope that these are things that she's worked through already, right? The fact that she can acknowledge that her relationships have stemmed from her being insecure in the past is a great thing. I just wonder if she's completely healed from that. That's what I'm not sure. So Connor basically reassures her and says that he's her rock and that he won't abandon her, which is really nice. And Emma says that she felt like Connor opened up a little bit more in this pod date, and that's something that she'd like to see. So Emma is also talking to Steven, and she says that she describes him as being silly and goofy. Steven mentions that it's his lifelong goal to be a Hanes underwear model, and Emma is like, that is an ick. Yeah, that's an ick for me too. Emma says she wants him to be able to open up more as well. He asks her if she wants to say, and then basically Steven asks if she wants to see Sad Boy Steve. He says that he has a playlist on his phone titled Sensitive Sensei. Once again, Emma says she's getting the ick and doesn't like the word sensei. Like, what is that? Steven is giving unserious. Emma is asking him to open up. Instead of opening up, he's almost like making fun of the idea of him having a sensitive playlist on his phone. There was no opening up to be done in this conversation. So yeah, Steven is giving unserious. All right, so we go back to Christine, and she's talking to Vic. He sets up a little dinner date, very cute. They have candles, and Christine asks if he smokes. He says no, and Christine basically says that when she was in high school, she got like a misdemeanor for the possession of weed. Vic happened to have gotten the same misdemeanor when he was young as well. So basically they both got misdemeanors when they were younger. Awesome. Christine really opens up about her family life and basically goes into a lot of detail about how her mom was never taken care of and went through a lot of traumatic things in life, and unfortunately passed down some of that trauma to her and her sisters. And unfortunately, her mom is still not healed from this trauma, but will not seek therapy. She then goes into details about how growing up, she remembers one time her dad was driving her and was swerving on the roads. They get pulled over by the cops, and her dad tells her to hide a bottle of pills that he had. So not great. It seems like her dad was not in her life very much, because she basically mentions that her dad missed out on a lot of experiences with her and her sisters, which is rough. So she doesn't have, the best relationship with either parent, is what it sounds like. And Vic did a really good job of like hearing her out. He also went into some details about how he had a stepfather that was physically abusing his mom at some point, but that he's somehow already been able to forgive this man, which I know Christine seems like that's very commendable of him. It seems like Christine is still working through that forgiveness with her parents, specifically her dad. I don't think she's reached that point yet. All right, then we go back to the men's quarters, and Alex and Steven seem to realize that Emma is both their number one. Steven basically says that her not wanting kids isn't an issue. And he says, you're here to find a wife and not a baby factory. Okay, Steven, I get it. Yeah, you're not here to find a baby factory, but having a child is a very big, to me, that is a big conversation to have. If somebody doesn't want kids, that's a reason for you to just end the pod date, end the connection, right? If you want children. Nobody's saying that they're looking for a baby factory. Very strange thing to say. So Emma and Steven are talking. Emma tells Steven she was adopted at 3. She says she didn't mention it before because she didn't want it to come across like it was just like a fun fact. She wanted to really be able to open up about this to him. Steven is then trying to guess things about her appearance. And when Emma tries to call him out about it, he's basically denying it. Emma basically says she doesn't really like that he's trying to do this, right? Because by her saying she's adopted and mentioning certain details, he's trying to put the 2 and 2 together about maybe her ethnicity or what she looks like. Any guy that does this on Love is Blind, never a good sign. Okay, Emma is saying she's trying to take this process, and before she can even finish her sentence, Steven cuts her off. And he's like, Steven says, like a shy girl hiding. Basically trying to say that she is taking this experience like a shy girl hiding. He asks if she wants to adopt a kid just because she knows how it's like. And all I can say is when Steven is saying these things, you can just see Emma and her face in the pod. Her facial expression is saying it all. Like, she's so uncomfortable. Her demeanor's changed. She's looking sad and down. Like, no, just no. She says, yeah, if she wanted kids, she would like to adopt. And Steven basically says the point is not to hide things from behind the wall. I don't really know what he means by that. So he's insinuating that she's hiding something when I'm confused because I'm like, she's opening up to you. So what is she hiding? Makes no sense. Emma says she wanted to go on the show because she just liked the idea of the physical being removed from things, right? Emma goes silent for a while, then opens up about being born with a birthmark on her arm, having 10 surgeries before the age of 7. She says that she still has birthmarks all over her body. As she's saying this, you can see Steven in the pods. He's just like writing all this down, but there's no sense of him actually like taking in what she's saying and attentively listening to her. He's just writing. Ridiculous. Emma says it's impacted the way she's being perceived, and she gets very emotional. Steven says he can basically get her out of this funk and tells this ridiculous story about his first kiss in 8th grade and asks her to tell him about her first kiss. She says it wasn't memorable. Steven asks how she lost her virginity. What kind of question is that? She says she lost it in college. Then Steven wants more details. And he basically says that he thought he was a late bloomer. Emma says she doesn't like that word late bloomer because she thinks that things kind of happen on your own time. She explains that she wasn't really a big dater growing up. Steven is then trying to guess the age that Emma lost her virginity. He's like, was it freshman year of freshman year of college? Were you 19? Were you this age? Why do you want to know these details? It's giving creepy. Like, oh, Steven, honey, you're not beating these allegations. Because I know there's some allegations out about you. And I'm not saying this has proven anything, but why are you asking these types of details? Why do you need to know this? How does this help your connection? Very strange. So Emma basically says she doesn't like the idea of someone telling her what to do. And she goes on. She basically says that no one wanted her in high school. And it wasn't until she was in college that she kind of felt like she was getting more attention. Emma opens up and says that you think you can latch on to the first person that cares about you. And then you realize that these guys don't care about you, which I was like, oh, that is so rough and so real, because I think a lot of people go through that. As Emma is opening up and saying all these things, you can see Steven on the other side getting up, opening a drink, walking around. He is not paying attention, guys. He doesn't give a flying fuck what Emma has to say. It's crazy. So she basically says comments about being a late bloomer tend to rub her the wrong way, and that she doesn't like that he was interrupting her during this conversation. He says that he was intent and taking in what she was saying as she was saying these things. We all see that this guy is freaking lying. She says that basically Emma says she won't get there with him. They end the date. Steven walks off, comes back to the men's quarters and says, it's done, I'm done. And Emma is like bursting out into tears in the women's quarters. And if I'm being honest, guys, I don't understand why she didn't just walk out of that date. Like, he was being so dismissive, disrespectful, and just not really like that emotional capacity to have a deep conversation with Steven is clearly not there. And I know Emma picked up on it because you could see her face change during the pod date. I don't know why she didn't just get up and walk away, but I'm glad she cut this connection off. Cut, bye-bye, Steven. Okay, so then we go back to the men's quarters and we see Vic saying that he's excited about Christine. They basically go through this montage for like 3 or 4 minutes where they show some of the dates between Christine and Vic. and you can really see their connection in all the conversations they've had. They've had some great conversations about all types of topics. Vic ends up proposing to Christine and she says yes. So this is the first proposal that we have in this episode with Vic and Christine. Okay, Vic then bursts into the men's quarters and he literally shouts, "I'ma have me a wife." Okay, and I'm like, that is a great way to end this episode. We see like a little teaser for the next episode and there's like an ambulance and Priyanka is talking about farting in her sleep. Guys, okay, and that's the end of episode 1. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will be reviewing all the episodes to come. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.